Mr. President, colleagues, good morning, and welcome to the first day of the 2021 session. Before I begin, I ask all senators in the chamber, as well as staff, lobbyists, and other members of the public, to rise as you are able and bow your heads for a moment of silence or prayer in remembrance of the 1,944,838 people around the world, including 383,275 Americans and 4,138 Iowans who have lost their lives to COVID-19. Please rise. Thank you all. I congratulate every member of this body who was elected in 2020. To our freshman members, we are glad to have you join us, and we cherish your new ideas and energy. It is an honor to serve the people of Iowa in difficult times, and our constituents have placed their trust in us during a time of global crisis. We are fortunate to all have incredible staff, both partisan and nonpartisan, who have accommodated changes to how we operate, which has involved working long days and weekends. We are all grateful to you for making our work and the people's work possible. Thank you. The last time the Iowa General Assembly convened for a full legislative session during a global pandemic was 100 years ago, amid the outbreak of the 1918 influenza. Today, we face a similar challenge, the novel coronavirus. Scientists know a lot more today about viruses than they did in 1918, because in the century since, our government, by, of, and for the people, has invested taxpayer dollars into public health research. We funded the greatest research universities in the world, and that's why, in a matter of months, we were able to develop therapeutics like remdesivir, which was piloted and tested at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics in Iowa City. It's why we were able to shatter the record for developing vaccines to help us defeat COVID-19, including one that was also piloted and tested at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics, and new nano-vaccines that are being developed at Iowa State University. This life-saving work of scientists around the world and right here in Iowa is an inspiring testament to what humanity can accomplish when we work together and follow the facts. And all of this was made possible because of public investment in public health. Without these incredible advancements, the death toll from the coronavirus would have been incalculably greater. But unfortunately, when disaster struck, we missed our opportunity to stop the spread. As a result, the virus is tearing through our state, and thousands of Iowans have lost their lives. Some of us have lost family and loved ones. Many of us have lost friends and neighbors. All of us have lost constituents. One of my constituents who died from COVID-19 was a beloved mailman from Coralville named Mel Stommer. He worked for the United States Postal Service for 35 years. He was a public employee and a proud union man who performed in essential service, delivering medications, ballots, and correspondence that connected people across our state and our country. As our local newspaper put it, Mel was the kind of mailman who knew everyone on his route. He helped make our community feel like a small town. His son John was a classmate of mine in high school. When he was out on his route, Mel would often notice when the people along his way needed help, and he and his family were always ready with a soup or a casserole, a helping hand, or a listening ear. Mel was the kind of neighbor who took care of his neighbors. So when Mel died, our community mourned. We honored him with a driving procession, including his friends in our own cars and his colleagues in mail trucks. When the procession drove by his home, a bottle of beer and a peanut butter sandwich, two of his favorite things, were on a table on the front lawn. For months afterward, signs honoring Mel's life were displayed in the windows of the mail trucks in our community. We all have stories just like this one in the communities that we represent. We will all carry the scars of this pandemic with us for the rest of our lives, and as we get back to work for the people of this great state in this great body. In the weeks and months ahead, we will balance our legislative responsibilities and our leadership responsibilities. As legislators, we have the responsibility of faithfully discharging the duties of senator and upholding the Iowa Constitution. The first sentence of the Iowa Bill of Rights reads, quote, "All men and women are by nature free and equal and have certain inalienable rights, among which are those of enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety and happiness." As leaders, we have the responsibility of following the best available public health guidance and leading by example so Iowans are not forced to choose between life and liberty or safety and happiness. That is why we must do everything in our power to speedily deliver a safe, effective, and free vaccine to end this pandemic. With this vaccine, we will be able to safely see our extended family and friends, safely send our children back to school, and safely visit the elderly and infirm who have despaired as the coronavirus spread unchecked in Iowa. We must help those who are hurting by using federal monies, our budget surplus, and the Economic Emergency Fund to help everyday Iowans. We can give frontline healthcare workers a raise even if they can't take a day off. We can ensure other essential workers have access to COVID-19 testing, contact tracing, and PPE. We can continue to support struggling small businesses on Main Street. We can help our cities and towns which have borne the brunt of this crisis, and we can give food banks the aid they so desperately need, because since last March, the number of Iowa families with children experiencing food insecurity has tripled. Together, we must lay the rock upon which we will build back better. We must take up legislation passed with strong bipartisan support in the House to assist childcare providers who were already struggling before the pandemic began. We must make the necessary changes to ensure every Iowan has access to high-speed broadband internet. We must continue the work we began last summer to address racial inequities in our society, and we must enact legislation to expand access to and build more affordable housing to help family budgets and to protect Iowans from predatory landlords. The Iowa Senate has addressed each of these issues with a bipartisan approach in the past, and that must guide our work this session. Additionally, with courage, we can ensure that our state learns the difficult and painful lessons of this pandemic. Republicans and Democrats must come together to create an independent and nonpartisan blue ribbon COVID commission with full investigatory powers. The COVID commission should help us understand state government mistakes and failures, investigate negligence or profiteering in the private sector, and prepare a report for the legislature about what steps we must take to ensure that we are better prepared when, not if, the next pandemic strikes. Finally, we must not ignore last week's events in our nation's capital. Last week's insurrection and attack on the American democratic process was the direct result of a president who encouraged his supporters to march on the Capitol. He launched his campaign for president and said that he could get away with shooting a man on Fifth Avenue in New York. He ended his time as president by instructing his supporters to march down Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. This resulted in the deaths of at least 5 people, including at least 1 Capitol police officer who died in the line of duty, and whose death is the reason our flags outside the Capitol today are flying at half-mast. We should all be proud that Congress was undaunted by the attack and continued the peaceful transition of power. This is truly a moment for all patriotic Americans and for every member of the Iowa General Assembly to publicly affirm our shared commitment to our democratic republic and to repudiate the lies used by this president to undermine faith in American elections. As President-elect Joe Biden said last week, "Democracy beats deep in the heart of America," end quote. I know we will endure. And as said by America's first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, this government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. This is an incredibly difficult time. And while it may get worse before it gets better, there is a deep understanding across this state and across this country that we are in this challenge together. We are counting on each other, and we are working side by socially distanced side to endure this pandemic. We have learned that social distancing and wearing face masks are not just actions that we take for ourselves. We do these things for each other, for our friends, for our colleagues, for our neighbors, for people we don't even know. We are counting on each other to take these responsibilities seriously so that we may protect the people we love and so that we, like the late beloved mailman from Coralville, Mel Stommer, can all be the kinds of neighbors who take care of our neighbors. Thank you, Mr. President.